The moment. Everything shattered. I'm standing in the marble hallway of the Whitmore estate, $47 million penthouse, 82nd floor, overlooking Central Park, and I can hear my mother screaming from the master suite. Not crying, screaming. The kind of sound that comes from somewhere beyond grief, beyond shock, beyond anything I thought a human throat could produce. In my hand is a leather folder. Her mess probably cost more than my entire year's salary as a hotel night auditor. Inside it, a single document that just proved my entire existence was a lie. My name, the name I've used for 26 years, isn't my name. The woman raising me isn't my mother. And the billionaire who just died 3 hours ago, whose body is still warm in the bedroom at the end of this hallway. But here's the thing that's making my hands shake so badly I can barely hold this folder. I didn't know he existed until 45 minutes ago, 72 hours earlier. Let me take you back, because 3 days ago I was somebody completely different. My name was Maya Reeves. I lived in a 280-square-foot studio in Alphabet City, the kind where you can touch all 4 walls while standing in the center. I worked night shifts at the Grandeur Hotel on Park Avenue, checking in wealthy guests, smiling through their complaints about thread counts and pillow firmness, going home at 6 a.m. smelling like expensive perfume I'd never be able to afford. My mother, the woman I thought was my mother, died when I was 19. Ovarian cancer. We'd been broke my entire life. She cleaned houses, took odd jobs, refused government assistance out of pride. We moved constantly. She never talked about my father except to say he wasn't in the picture and that some questions were better left unasked. I learned not to ask. The morning of March 14th started like any other. I clocked out of my shift, grabbed a $2 coffee from the bodega, rode the subway home. I fell asleep around 7 a.m. with my phone on silent, because my downstairs neighbor played drums at random hours. When I woke up at 2 p.m., I had 63 missed calls. 63! All from the same number. A 212 area code I didn't recognize. There were also 17 voicemails, each one increasingly urgent, from a man who identified himself as Lawrence Pemberton, senior partner at Pemberton & Associates, a law firm I'd definitely never heard of because I'd never needed lawyers who had mahogany in their title. The last voicemail was different from the others. Miss Reeves, or rather, Miss Whitmore, this is a matter of extreme urgency regarding your biological father, Jonathan Whitmore III. He suffered a massive stroke this morning. He's not expected to survive the day. There are legal matters that require your immediate presence. I'm sending a car to your address. Please, this cannot wait. I played it 3 times. Jonathan Whitmore III. The Jonathan Whitmore III. I knew the name the way everyone in New York knew the name. Real estate empire worth $8.4 billion. Hotels, luxury residential towers, casinos. His face was on the cover of Forbes twice in the past decade. There was a hospital wing named after him at Lenox Hill. And apparently, he was my father. The car, the lawyer, the truth. The car that showed up wasn't a car. It was a Maybach S680, midnight black, with a driver in full livery who called me Miss Whitmore before I'd even confirmed who I was. Lawrence Pemberton was waiting in the back seat. 60-something gray suit that probably cost what I made in 3 months. Carrying a briefcase that had actual gold clasps. I apologize for the dramatic approach, he said, as the car pulled smoothly into traffic. But time is critical, and this situation is complicated. He opened the briefcase and pulled out a folder. Not the leather one. That would come later. This was standard manila, but the papers inside were anything but standard. 27 years ago, your mother, Rosa Delgado, worked as a housekeeper at the Whitmore residence in Greenwich. She and Mr. Whitmore had a brief relationship. When she became pregnant, he offered her a settlement. $2 million in exchange for her silence and agreement never to contact him or reveal his paternity. I felt my coffee turning acidic in my stomach. My mother took $2 million. She took nothing. Pemberton's voice was flat, clinical. She refused the money, quit her position, moved to the city, and raised you alone. Mr. Whitmore respected her wishes. He never contacted her again. But he never forgot. He pulled out photographs, old ones. My mother, younger than I'd ever seen her, laughing, beautiful, standing next to a man I recognized from magazine covers. They looked happy. They looked real. Mr. Whitmore never married.
No other children. His brother Charles manages the business operations, but Jonathan controlled the empire. About 3 years ago, he hired a private investigator to locate you. He's been monitoring your life.
From a distance. Monitoring? The word tasted wrong. He knows where you work, where you live. He's seen photographs. He wanted to approach you many times, but he was afraid. Afraid you'd reject him the way your mother did. Afraid of disrupting your life. Afraid of his own family's reaction. Pemberton pulled out more papers. Bank statements. All in my name. Accounts I'd never opened. For the past 3 years, Mr. Whitmore has been depositing $10,000 monthly into a trust he established for you. You now have approximately $385,000 sitting in an account you didn't know existed. He planned to tell you everything on your 27th birthday. Next month. My hands were shaking. Why didn't my mother tell me? We don't know. We only know she never touched his money and she never spoke his name. Perhaps she wanted you to have a normal life. Perhaps she was protecting you from something. We'll never know. The car was heading uptown now, into territory where I only came for work. There's more, Pemberton said quietly, and I need you to understand this before we arrive. Jonathan's family, his brother Charles, his sister-in-law Patricia, their children Damien and Veronica, they don't know about you. Not yet. Jonathan was going to tell them next month when he revealed everything to you. But the stroke happened this morning during a board meeting. He's been unconscious since 9 a.m.
The doctors say he has hours, maybe less. So why am I here?
Pemberton's expression finally cracked, showing something like sympathy.
Because 3 months ago, Jonathan updated his will. He's leaving you 51% of everything.
The family meeting. The elevator to the penthouse required a key. An actual key, gold-plated, which Pemberton produced from his pocket. As we rose through the floors, he briefed me rapidly. Charles Whitmore is expecting me. He knows I'm bringing someone Jonathan wanted present. He doesn't know who. When we enter, let me handle the introductions. Do not volunteer information. Do not answer questions about your relationship to Jonathan. And whatever happens, do not leave the apartment until we've read the will. Is it safe? The Whitmores are many things. Violent isn't one of them. But prepared for you, they are not. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. I'd seen luxury before. I worked in it every night. But this was different. This was generational wealth. The kind that came with original Rothkos on the walls and furniture that had provenance. The kind where even the air felt expensive. 3 people were waiting in the living room. The city sprawled beneath floor-to-ceiling windows behind them like a kingdom. Charles Whitmore, 50s, tailored suit, the kind of face that was used to getting what it wanted. Next to him, Patricia, diamonds at her throat, designer everything, watching me with the expression of someone who'd just found something unpleasant on her shoe. And standing by the window, their son, Damien, early 30s, handsome in that generic wealthy person way, holding a glass of what was probably scotch, older than me. Lawrence, Charles said. His voice was tight, controlled. My brother is dying. Who is this? Pemberton set his briefcase down. This is Maya Whitmore, Jonathan's daughter. I will never forget the silence that followed. It was so complete I could hear someone's watch ticking. Patricia broke first. That's impossible. I have documentation, Pemberton said calmly. DNA testing completed 3 years ago. Birth certificate. And Jonathan's written acknowledgement. Damien's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. 3 years ago? He's known for 3 years? Longer, actually. But he had it legally confirmed 3 years ago. Charles was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. Rosa's daughter. It wasn't a question. You knew about my mother? Everyone knew about Rosa. Patricia's voice was acid. She was the help who thought she could trap a billionaire with a pregnancy. We paid her off and she disappeared. We assumed she'd terminated. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a slap. My mother never took your money. Apparently not, Charles said softly. He was still staring at me. You look like her. Exactly like her. A door opened down the hallway. A nurse emerged, her face grave. Mr. Whitmore is awake. He's asking for Lawrence. He says it's urgent. The bedside Jonathan Whitmore threw looked nothing like his magazine covers. The man in the bed was shrunken, pale, with tubes running into his arms and an oxygen cannula in his nose. But when I entered the room behind Pemberton, his eyes, gray like mine, found me immediately. Maya. His voice was barely a whisper. You came. I didn't know what to say. What do you say to your dying father who you've known about for 90 minutes? He gestured weakly to the nurse. Everyone out, except Maya and Lawrence. The nurse hesitated, then left. I could hear the family arguing in the hallway, Patricia's voice rising above the others. I don't have long, Jonathan said. So please, just listen. I was a coward. Your mother was the bravest, most beautiful person I ever met, and I let her go because I was afraid. Afraid of my family's judgment, afraid of scandal, afraid of being human instead of being a Whitmore. He started coughing. Pemberton moved to call the nurse, but Jonathan waved him off. I watched you grow up through photographs like some kind of ghost. Watched you struggle. Watched you work 3 jobs to put yourself through community college. Watched you move into that terrible apartment. And I did nothing. I told myself I was respecting Rosa's wishes, but I was just still afraid. Tears were running down his face now. The money I put aside for you, it's nothing. It's guilt money. But the company, the empire, that's different. I built something that will outlast me. And I want you to have it. Not because you're my daughter, though you are, but because you're the only person connected to me who actually knows what it means to work for a living. I don't know anything about real estate, I said quietly. You know about people. You know about dignity. You know what it's like to be invisible. He struggled to sit up slightly. Charles will try to contest the will. He'll say I was incompetent, that you manipulated me, that I didn't know what I was doing. That's why I need you to hear this, why Lawrence is witnessing. I am of sound mind. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm giving you control because I trust you to do what's right. What's right? Whatever you decide. It's yours. Truly yours. No conditions. No strings. I'm giving you the power to choose. I let him take it. I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness, but I want you to know that loving your mother was the only, and knowing you exist has been the only thing that's made my life feel like it mattered. He died 17 minutes later. The reading of the will. They made me wait in the hallway while they said their goodbyes. I could hear Patricia sobbing. Real grief, I thought, even through all the complication. Charles emerged last, his face unreadable. "I'm sorry for your loss," I said. "Are you?" He studied me. "You didn't know him." "No, but you did." Something flickered in his expression.
Lawrence says we need to do the reading now. Jonathan's wishes. He paused. "I want you to understand something. My brother was brilliant, but he was also sentimental. He had romantic notions about redemption and fairness. Whatever he's left you, we can make arrangements, financial arrangements. There's no need for ugliness."
"I'm not here for money."
"Everyone's here for money, dear."
Patricia appeared behind Charles. "Some of us are just more honest about it." The reading took place in Jonathan's home office, a room lined with legal books he'd probably never read and art he'd definitely never appreciated. Pemberton laid out the documents with methodical precision. The will was 47 pages long. I'll spare you most of it. Charitable donations, provisions for staff, personal items to family members. But the heart of it was simple and devastating. To Maya Whitmore, biological daughter, I leave 51% controlling interest in Whitmore Properties LLC and all subsidiary corporations, the Greenwich estate and all personal effects therein, $43 million in liquid assets, this penthouse and contents. To Charles Whitmore, brother, I leave 30% non-controlling interest in Whitmore Properties LLC, $20 million in liquid assets, the property in the Hamptons. To Patricia, Damien, and Veronica Whitmore, various trusts, properties, and assets totaling approximately $180 million. There were conditions for everyone else. 10-year waiting periods, behavior clauses, trustee oversight. For me, nothing. No conditions, no oversight, just power. "This is insane," Damien said. "She can't possibly be qualified to run a multi-billion-dollar empire." "The will is legal and ironclad," Pemberton said. "I drafted it myself." "We'll contest," Patricia said immediately. "Obviously we'll contest. He wasn't in his right mind." "He absolutely was. I have today's conversation recorded, with his permission and full knowledge. He stated clearly his intentions and reasoning." Charles hadn't spoken. He was looking at me with an expression I was starting to recognize. Calculation. "Maya," he said quietly, "can I speak with you privately?" The offer. We went out onto the terrace. The March wind was brutal at this height, but the view was extraordinary. You could see the entire city laid out like a circuit board of light and ambition. "I'm not going to insult you with threats or legal posturing," Charles said. "You seem intelligent enough to know this is an impossible situation. You can't run this company. You have no training, no experience, no understanding of the landscape. Within 6 months, you'll make a decision that costs hundreds of millions and destroys thousands of jobs. So what are you proposing?" "I'll buy you out. 500 million cash, transferred within 30 days. You walk away with more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes, and you never have to deal with this family or this responsibility again. And you get control of the company. I get to continue what my brother and I built together for 30 years. Yes." I looked out at the city. Somewhere down there was my studio apartment, my bodega, my subway station, my life from 3 hours ago. "Can I ask you something honestly?" "Of course." "Did you love your brother?" The question seemed to surprise him. "Very much." "Then why did you let him die alone? Why wasn't his family the people who made him happy?" Charles's jaw tightened. "We're not all brave enough to disappoint our parents and break with tradition, Maya. Some of us have to carry the weight of expectation." He was carrying it too. That's why he was so lonely. Are you refusing my offer? I'm saying I need to think. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer decreases by $50 million per day. The first night. They put me up in one of the guest rooms. A room bigger than my entire apartment, with a bathroom that had heated floors and a shower with 6 different heads. I lay in a bed with sheets that felt like liquid and stared at the ceiling. I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I got up and started exploring. The penthouse had 12 rooms I hadn't seen yet. I found Jonathan's private study, locked, but Pemberton had given me keys to everything. Inside was a different kind of archive. Photographs, hundreds of them. My mother, young and radiant. Me, at every age, captured by telephoto lenses and private investigators. My high school graduation that my mother scraped together money to attend. My first day at the hotel, walking in nervous and overdressed. My 26th birthday last year, when I bought myself a cupcake and ate it alone on a bench in Tompkins Square Park. He'd been watching my whole life. There were letters too. Unsent. Dozens of them, written to me over the years, dated and stored in chronological order. Dear Maya, today you turned 13. I imagine you're starting to ask questions about your father. I wish I could answer them. I wish I was brave enough. But I'm not. Maybe someday. Dear Maya, you graduated college today. Community college? Night classes while working full-time. Your mother would be so proud. I am proud, though I have no right to be. You did this alone. You're stronger than I ever was. Dear Maya, I saw you today, actually saw you, not just in photographs. I came to the hotel where you work. I pretended to be a guest. You checked me in. You were professional and kind to a stranger, never knowing that stranger was your father. You called me sir and smiled and wished me a pleasant stay. It broke my heart. I read every single letter. It took hours. By the time I finished, the sun was coming up over the East River, painting the sky pink and gold. I understood something then. Jonathan Whitmore had been just as trapped as my mother, just in a different kind of prison. She'd been trapped by poverty and pride. He'd been trapped by wealth and fear. And somehow, they'd both loved me in the only ways they knew how. The board meeting. I told Charles I wasn't selling. The explosion was immediate and expected. Patricia threatened legal action. Damien called me a gold digger and worse. Charles, to his credit, just looked tired. Then I suppose you'll need to attend the board meeting, he said quietly. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll have credentials prepared. The Whitmore Properties headquarters occupied floors 40-52 of a building in Midtown that, it turned out, we owned. The executive conference room was all glass and chrome, with 23 board members seated around a table that could have been harvested from a sequoia. I wore the only professional outfit I owned, an $89 suit from H&M that I'd bought for job interviews 2 years ago. I looked ridiculous next to the Tom Ford and Brioni surrounding me. Charles called the meeting to order. I'm sure you've all heard by now about my brother's passing and the unusual circumstances of his will. I'd like to introduce Maya Whitmore, who now holds controlling interest in this company. 23 pairs of eyes assessed me. I saw dismissal, curiosity, calculation, and, in a few cases, barely disguised contempt. Miss Whitmore, one of them said. Bradford Pierce, CFO according to his nameplate. Perhaps you could share your vision for the company going forward? It was a trap, obviously. I knew nothing about real estate development or hospitality management or any of the dozen industries we were apparently involved in. I don't have a vision yet, I said honestly. I've known I owned this company for about 36 hours. Before that, I was checking guests into one of our hotels at $17.50 an hour. Murmurs around the table. But I do have a question. How many of you have actually stayed in one of our hotels? Not in a suite, not with special treatment. How many of you have checked in as a regular guest, used the standard rooms, dealt with the actual experience we're selling? Silence. I have. Not at our hotel, obviously, but at our competitors. I've also cleaned hotel rooms, worked front desks, handled guest complaints, dealt with the staff who make this industry actually function. So, while I don't know anything about quarterly projections or market positioning, I do know what it feels like to be on the other side of the luxury we're selling. That's a charming perspective, Patricia said coldly. She'd insisted on attending as a major shareholder.
But this is a business,
Not a sociology experiment. Is it profitable? I asked. Bradford blinked. I'm sorry? The business. Are we profitable? Extremely. Last year, we cleared $387 million in net profit. And our employees? The people who clean rooms and work front desks and haul luggage? How much do they make? That would vary by position and location, but our starting wage is $15.50 per hour in most markets. I did the math quickly. So, someone working full-time makes about $32,000 a year. Before taxes, in cities where our hotels operate, is that a living wage? We're competitive with industry standards, Charles said carefully.
That's not what I asked. The room had gone very quiet. No, Bradford admitted. In most of our markets, that's below what's considered a living wage. Then that's my first decision as majority shareholder. Effective immediately. Our minimum wage is $22 per hour, with benefits including health insurance, childcare assistance, and education reimbursement. That's insane, Damien said.
Do you have any idea what that would cost?
Less than what we spent on the art in this conference room, I'm guessing.
It would set a precedent, Charles said. Other companies would be forced to follow or lose talent. You'd disrupt the entire labor market. Good. The investigation. The board meeting ended with Charles requesting a private conversation. We stood by the windows overlooking the city. That was quite a performance, he said. It wasn't a performance. No, I suppose it wasn't. He sighed. You're going to be destroyed, you know. The media will eviscerate you. Business analysts will mock you. Within 6 months, your naivete will cost this company hundreds of millions. Maybe, or maybe my father was right, and this company needs someone who remembers what it's like to worry about rent. Jonathan was sentimental. Sentiment doesn't build empires. Then how did he build one? Charles had no answer for that. Over the next 3 weeks, I learned the business. I sat through presentations, reviewed contracts, toured properties. I worked 18-hour days, sleeping in the penthouse I still didn't feel was mine, eating takeout at a desk that cost more than my mother's funeral. And I started noticing things. Discrepancies in the contracts, properties acquired through what looked like eminent domain abuse, development projects that displaced entire communities, tax shelters that were technically legal but morally bankrupt. The Whitmore empire was built on the backs of people like my mother. I called an emergency board meeting. The reckoning. I've spent 3 weeks reviewing our operations, I said. And I've found something interesting. Over the past 15 years, we've acquired property for 37 different development projects. In 32 of those cases, we used a combination of political pressure, intimidation tactics, and questionable legal strategies to force owners to sell below market value. That's called business, Patricia said. That's called predatory development. And we're going to fix it. I projected a list on the screen. Names, addresses, dollar amounts. These are the people we took from. Small business owners, families, community organizations. We're going to contact every single one and offer fair market compensation plus 20%, retroactively. That's $340 million, Bradford said, his face pale. That's justice. This is absurd, Charles said, but his voice lacked its usual certainty. You'll bankrupt us. We cleared $387 million last year. We can afford to be decent. You'll destroy everything we've built. Good. Let's build something better. The vote was called. As majority shareholder, I could force it through, but I wanted to see who would stand with me. 7 board members voted in favor, 16 against. It didn't matter. I had 51%. The revelation. The press coverage was brutal. Socialist heiress destroys billion-dollar empire, read one headline. From rags to riches to ruins, said another. Stock prices fell. Investors panicked. Charles scheduled another meeting. You're destroying us, he said flatly. Your moral crusade is costing real people real jobs. Show me. He did. Projections, market analyses, investor confidence metrics. It looked bad. But then something unexpected happened. Applications for positions at Whitmore Properties increased 400%. The best talent in hospitality was suddenly interested in working for us. Guest satisfaction scores rose. Social media exploded with positive coverage. People want to work for a company that treats them like humans, I said. And people want to stay at hotels that treat their workers like humans. Revolutionary concept. 3 months after I took over, we had our first profitable quarter under the new model. 6 months in, we exceeded projections. Turns out, people will pay premium prices if they believe the premium is going to workers, not just executives. Charles came to the penthouse one evening. He looked older, tired. I owe you an apology. You don't. Jonathan was right about you. You're not naive. You're not sentimental. You're something we forgot how to be. Decent. I'm just doing what my mother would have wanted. Your mother was extraordinary. I only met her a few times, but she had this way of looking at you that made you want to be better. Jonathan never got over her. He compared every woman to her for the rest of his life.
No one measured up. Why didn't you fight harder for them? Because I was young and stupid, and believed that business was more important than happiness. He smiled sadly. I've spent 30 years building an empire. You spent 3 months making it mean something.
6 months later, I still work night shifts at the hotel sometimes. Not because I have to, but because I want to remember. I check guests in, smile at their complaints, go home at 6 a.m. smelling like expensive perfume I could now buy by the gallon. The difference is, now when I leave, I know that the housekeepers cleaning rooms are making $25 an hour with full benefits. I know their kids have childcare. I know they can afford to live in the city where they work. The Whitmore estate in Greenwich I sold. Turned it into a community center and affordable housing. The penthouse I kept, but I donated most of the art to museums and filled the walls with photographs instead. My mother, young and smiling. Jonathan, caught in rare moments of genuine happiness. Me, in all my awkward phases, loved from a distance. Charles runs the day-to-day operations now. He's good at it, and more importantly, he believes in what we're doing. Damien left to start his own firm. Patricia speaks to me occasionally, usually to criticize my choices, but sometimes I catch her almost smiling. I found the families we'd displaced, compensated them. Some took the money and moved on. Some came back and opened businesses in our new developments. All of them appreciated being seen. Yesterday, I got a letter from a housekeeper at our Chicago property. She wanted me to know that because of the new wage and benefits, she was able to quit her second job and see her daughter's school play for the first time in 3 years. That's worth more than $8.4 billion. My mother taught me that dignity isn't bought, it's given. My father taught me, too late, but he taught me that wealth without humanity is just expensive loneliness. I'm Maya Whitmore now. fully. I've claimed the name. But every morning, I look in the mirror and see Rosa Delgado's daughter first, a woman who cleaned houses and raised a child and refused to sell her dignity for any price. That's the inheritance that actually matters. The money? That's just power. What I choose to do with it? That's character. And character, I learned from the best teacher who ever lived, a housekeeper who died broke but never poor, who gave me everything that actually counts, who loved me enough to let me grow up normal even when abnormal wealth was just a phone call away. I run a billion-dollar empire now. But I'll always be the girl from the 280-square-foot apartment, trying to make enough for rent and hoping tomorrow will be a little easier than today. The difference is, now I have the power to make tomorrow easier for thousands of people just like her, just like me. That's what my father was trying to give me. Not money, not power, responsibility. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of it.